Hello, everyone. Welcome to another riveting edition of Public Speaking. We are starting on our week 6. So, what does that mean? Oh gosh, what does that mean? Do we have 12 weeks left of class? Okay. So, not quite halfway. What would be halfway? Half of 14, 7. Oh, so next week is our halfway point. Ye to the ha. And by next week, we'll freaking have 2 speeches under our belt, 2 more to go. So very much our halfway point. Last week we talked about informative speaking, went into the details of that, what we need to know, how to do an informative speech. And then we went over research. So we talked about locating as well as evaluating information. So today we're going to go deeper into research, specifically citations, how to avoid plagiarism and supporting your ideas, as well as delivery. Something I wanted to mention. So we talked about evaluating your information and how to have quality, current, um, sorry, I'm using my iPad for the first time in forever, so it's like loading all my messages. But um hopefully y'all can hear the dings. I kind of hope you do because then I don't sound crazy. But um so right, I want you to have quality information as current as we can, probably from 2019 to now. Um but a lot of us may have like pop culture topics. Like Gabe's doing Drake Kendrick Lamar beef, right? So if we're going more in the pop culture realm, just think of what would be quality information for your topic, right? Pop culture, like sources, would probably be a good source because that's what you're talking about. You're talking about pop culture, using people's opinions from Reddit or um, a tweet or a YouTube video essay. Like, I don't want that to be the only information you have. You only are using Reddit. You're only using tweets, but you can use that as supporting information, especially for a pop culture topic. Makes total sense. If all of your sources are like Google AI or Wikipedia, we're gonna have a problem. But outside of that, if you are struggling, specifically if you have a pop culture topic, I'd like you to know, just think of what would be quality for my topic. So, enough of my spiel. Let's get into today. So, we're going to quickly go over our library sources. We briefly went over it on last Wednesday, but I want to make sure you have a place that's like recorded you can go back to. Then we are going to do our out of class challenge for delivery, go into our lecture for delivery, go into our lecture for supporting your argument and avoiding plagiarism, then have another out of class challenge, which is our oral citation, review points, and then assignments. Again, just so we're clear, these out of class challenges, yes, 100%. I think getting them done as soon as possible is awesome. But remember, you only have to have 15 in this class. 15 or 6. I'm pretty sure it's 15. But there's a certain amount you need. So if you're like, this week I don't feel like doing it, right? There's going to be more opportunities in the future. Just be mindful of at some point, right? In class challenges, out of class challenges won't come and go. So I just want you to know, if you're like, I want to focus on my speech, I'm tired, all the things, you do not have to do that. Or if you want to do one, not the other, the world's your oyster. In conclusion, all I care is at the end of our 14 weeks, you have 15. I'm pretty sure it's 15. This is what I get for making all my classes different, but whatever the amount on your syllabus is. Okay. Well, let's first get into our library sources. So, first things first, we're on our Lone Star College page. We go to Student Services, we go to Library. Boom. Okay. This is what I want you to see. This is all the things that will help you right now. And what I showed you on Wednesday is click on advanced search. Let me log in real quick. Give us a second. And boom. This is exactly what you want. Um, let me think. What would be a topic? This is one of my students in my last class. Um, napping or sleeping or resting. I might not want sleeping. So this is like this or this. Um, and benefits or negative. So then I get both sides. So let's see where that takes me. 700,000. Okay. Well, not loving that. Let's maybe let's just go napping. Okay. Let's click on this. It's peer reviewed. It looks bomb. Everything in this database is peer reviewed. They have articles, they have newspapers, they have tons of stuff in here. If you find something you like, right? This is a research article, it's been peer reviewed, whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this, I want this. We go up here and look, you can share it to yourself so you get that PDF so you don't lose it. Or boom, citation. Let's see, you want to do MLA. Look, copy paste, easy. Easy peasy. That's why I like the database. You know you're getting quality stuff and it gives you the citations. Occasionally I have the PDFs, but boom. So that's how you use this. You can search however you want. Let's go back to here. So another thing, because we're working on citations, say you were using just like Google. You're just like Googling different web pages and things like that. Or you found a tweet, you found a video essay. Go to Citation Help and click on Lone Star College Montgomery. Apparently, according to the librarian at Tascasita, he says they have the best setup. So, depending if you work with APA or MLA, I don't care what you use. I just want you to use what you're most familiar with. So probably MLA will be everyone's what they're working with. And you go to citation examples and boom, it shows you exactly what to do for each thing you find. The order it's supposed to be in, everything. And I think that's a good basis. Ooh, a good thing to note. Is this something? Oh shoot, I lost what I want. Oh, was this it? Okay. Also, if you click here, you can literally like basically like instant message a librarian. And if it's during like the times that they would be in hours, probably 9 to 5, literally like they will message you back. Like you could be like, I'm researching this, like I'm not really sure how to find good stuff or where to look. They'll literally send it to you. Is that freaking crazy or what? Um, Yeah, so that's just the gist of what I wanted to show you for library sources. If you have any more questions, let me know. If we're interested in library sources and we want to know further for our persuasive speech, we'll have to do this research again. So y'all let me know if it would be worth it if one of our Wednesday classes, a librarian were to come in and teach us sources and stuff. Okay. So let's get into delivering a speech. So we're working solely on delivery. So for your out of class challenge, I want you to see, I'm not even going to risk playing this because you know how YouTube doesn't like it sometimes when I post a video, but um, I have this linked in D2L. I want you to click on out of class challenge delivery video questions. It should be. Watch this video fully, and while you're watching, you will be answering these questions. What does he say about body language, nonverbals, pace, pauses, filler words, the four skills? These questions are also in D2L, so do not freak out of writing these down right now. But right now, I want you to pause this video, go to D2L, watch the video, answer the questions. It's a longer video, it's like 16 minutes, but it's super helpful. It's good to physically see what he's doing because our lectures are online. It's more difficult for me to show you these delivery that I want you to do. So, boom. Okay. So when it comes to delivery, the key to a good delivery is a desire to communicate with the audience. If you just watch the video, he emphasizes that immensely throughout, right? The goal is to open yourself up to your audience and not close yourself off, to inspire, to excite, to create interest. That is your goal, wanting to connect and communicate with your audience. So, different methods of speaking are memorization, manuscript, impromptu, and extemporaneous. Memorization is literally like think of you are an actress or actor and you have to memorize your lines, right? You have your words, you memorize them, and then you perform them. That is not what we want to do for our public speaking experience. Next is manuscript. Think of manuscript as like a CEO or like the president is like making a speech. They're gonna have their manuscript or a prompt that's telling them exactly what they need to say. We don't like this because you will read directly off of it. And when you read directly off from it, then it leads you to sometimes have a kind of bland tone, like not very exciting, not a lot of vocal variation. It's hard to get that energy when you're reading word for word, as well as that eye contact. If you're reading word for word, there is no eye contact happening. Next is impromptu, which we will 100% work on throughout the semester, have some challenges. But your impromptu speech is one where you literally off the dome do a speech. Like for our challenges we'll probably do will be like you pick a topic out of a hat, you go outside for 2 minutes, have time to plan, and then you come in and you talk about it, right? Where our other speeches, you have 3 to 4 weeks to work on them. And lastly is extemporaneous. This is exactly how we do it, where you have an outline, you make minimal notes, and then the rest you kind of piece together in your own wording. This extemporaneous style is very conversational, and that's why we love it. This is what you're working on this whole semester. So this is, you have nothing in front of you, no notes. Everything is memorized word for word off the dome. Second is you have nothing is memorized. You don't know much. All you know is you have word for word in front of you as your notes. Impromptu, you don't know the topic and you don't have notes either, and you're just making it happen. And then extemporaneous is we have a note card with a couple keywords we need to create, I don't know how to word this, to create recognition, to spark our noggins into what we're talking about next. But most of it's just very conversational style. So those are the methods of speaking. Next is voice. So the different um aspects of voice, volume. So how loud you are, how soft you are. Dialects. I think this is an interesting one to think about, especially in a mixed audience where you're not really sure where these people are from or what's going on. I think of like how Louisiana, it's like they're speaking English. But especially those girlies in the bayou, oh my gosh. It's literally like they're speaking another language. Like it is so hard to understand. So this is a very like oh my gosh, think of Princess and the Frog, think of our the lightning bug. That's exactly what I'm thinking of. Um but different dialects, the way you say things, being aware of that is very important to have a clear voice that your audience understands. Clarity, this is just your articulation, making sure you're not kind of, I don't want to say slurring because it makes it sound like you're drunk, but like kind of just like a mushing of your words, not making, like making sure you're sounding it all out. People understand, okay, this is the word they're saying, and it's not kind of just like slurring all together. Expressiveness. So this is your pitch, your loudness, softness, rate, pauses, conversational quality. Um, yeah, so loudness versus softness, we kind of went over that with volume. Um, your rate, how fast you're going, how slow you're going, those pauses, taking time to be okay with the silence slash create that emotional buildup. And then that conversational style. Are you just like, bebop boop, we're talking about voice today, or are you kind of talking like you would to a friend? So now let's talk about nonverbal communication. So personal appearance can be a nonverbal communication, like just the aspect of like looking nice, not looking like you just rolled out of bed and you're in your PJs, but also at the same time it can show like credibility. Like if you were talking about something medical and you wore your scrubs and brought what is it? A stethoscope? Why can't I say that? What is it? I know some of y'all are yelling at me through your computers. We know what I'm talking about though, but oh my gosh, why can't I say it? Anyways, like adding that can be your credibility, but also just like wearing something nice or for example, like Drew, the way Drew dresses, but he's talking about his fishing and he's talking about boats. Like that adds to his credibility because he looks like someone who fishes and goes on boats, right? You don't have to be wearing a full suit and tie to be credible. It helps, but it just depends on your topic. Next is eye contact, right? Um, I think Anna said this, where if you're too nervous to look everyone in the eyeballs, because it is very intimidating, just look like right over their heads and make sure you're scanning from left to right. You are making eye contact with everyone in the room. Next is facial expressions. Some of us, right, we talk, but like our faces are giving nothing. Um, we're not smiling. We're not showing, if we're telling something emotional, we're not showing it on our face, right? You want to look personable. You want to look friendly. How can we do that? Think of our facial expressions. Posture, not slunched over. We are Superman pose because that's what's going to show you're confident. It's going to show you know what you're talking about, which is super important. Next is movement. So this one I love a lot, especially because I think it's great. There's, let me think. Oh, there's an aspect on your rubric that says delivery was, oh my gosh, how is it worded? Delivery is used with intended purpose or delivery aligned with intended purpose. So your movement, all your nonverbals are matching what you're talking about. And our man in our TED Talk, he talks about this as well. But think about like for using your movement to show that you are transitioning from different topics. So say you're like, you start in the middle of the room, you do your introduction. Then, right, you're like, now let's talk about my main point one. So maybe you go to the right side of the room. While you're at the right side of the room, you just talk about main point one. Now that I've talked about main point one, maybe start going to the left side of the room. Now let's talk about main point two. So now you're on the other side of the room talking about main point two. Now that I've talked about main point two, let's get to our last point, which is main point three. And now you've moved yourself to the middle of the room. So you're using your movement to indicate to the audience, like, oh, I'm transitioning now. So you don't just need to use your voice to tell people this. You can use your body as well, which is super helpful, super engaging. It helps your audience, especially one that's hard to get their attention. That helps get their attention. Next is using notes. What I would advise is holding your note cards in one hand and then, I don't know why I said lecture, gesturing with the other. You can gesture with the one with the note cards in your hand. It's just sometimes distracting, right? And when using those notes, we are not holding them up the entire time because that's also distracting. So just being aware of where our notes are and we're not relying so heavy on them. With that, we'll go with gestures, right? Those natural movements we have with our arms and our hands. Make sure, like they talked about in the video, we're not closing ourselves off. We're opening up those gestures. Like the clasping of the hands, we're closing us off. Folding your arms, that's closing us off. Think about how your arm movements can show that you are confident, you are open, you're excited. And lastly is thinking about the beginning and the ending of your speech. Remember, your beginning is your first impression. That introduction, oh my gosh, that is the big kahuna. You need to be practicing that. If you give us a weak introduction, oh my gosh, you are setting us up for disaster. Think of the introduction as you are setting up the, I always use this word and I never remember it. The basis, the foundation for your speech. So that's why it's so, so important. And also, your conclusion is also very important. That needs to be strong. That concluding statement needs to be strong. Remember, I said your audience only remembers the beginning and the end. If they remember the beginning and the end, then they can piece together the middle. But that's why I have you preview your points and review your points because your audience has such a tough time remembering. And remember, we talked about that with listening effectively. So, beginning and ending, have that strong. Next and lastly, practice tips. Number one is start early. I don't want to know, but if you are starting your topic today, oh my gosh, I'm going to throw up. Hopefully in the future we don't do that again. But if you start early, then we can practice as much as we can. Next is practice going through your entire speech at least 4 times, right? It gives you each time to think about something new, work on something different. If you messed up by the 4th time, you're doing it solid. Next is learning your speech point by point, not word for word. Again, if we learn word for word and we mess up, it can throw us off our entire train of thought, which is worst case scenario. Learn your speech by your outline, those main points, those sub points. That's how you want to learn your speech. Next, timing yourself. Time, time, time. It is so stupid to get points off of a really good speech because you went over time. Time yourself, time yourself, time yourself. Remember, we have from 3:30 to 5:30. So make sure you're timing yourself. Take away what you don't need and stay in time. Next, during your practice sessions, go all the way through and don't stop if you hit a problem. What happens when we stop whenever there's a problem? We get used to if we mess up, we can't just like truck on. We can't just play it off. If we don't practice messing up as we would if we were in the middle of our speech, it'll be a really hard time for us to like collect ourselves and keep going and not like totally fumble and freak out because of it, right? Like some people, when they practice like that, then they're like, I'm sorry. And then they go, right? But they just had to stop their speech and ruin the smooth delivery of it because it threw them off. Where I literally had a student whose visual aids, like she had rubber bands, and literally almost like five rubber bands like broke. Like they were not working for her demo speech. And she just kept going. She was like, and then grab your other rubber band. And like she just kept going and kept the smoothness of the speech going. And that did not, like, I didn't take any points away at all because she didn't let this freak her out. She didn't let this stop her in her tracks, right? She just kept going. She kept trudging on, and she had a very excellent speech. So that's why that is super, super important. Next, practice in front of a mirror or record yourself. We can't see ourselves and the mannerisms we do, the nervous gestures, the nervous movements. This will be very helpful. Make time to do a trial run in the room in which you deliver the speech. This is super helpful because then we talked about this before, but that acclimating, right? If you practice where you're gonna do it, then it's not so much newness and nervousness off the bat. So if you want to come in early, usually on speech days, I try to come in like 45 minutes early. So, boom, do it. Next, devote special practice time in your beginning and your ending. We just talked about this. That intro, that conclusion, you better know that like the back of your hand. Because if anything happens, if you were to just totally wipe out the whole body of your speech, if you could introduce us and conclude us, hey, that's something. At least you're giving us something instead of nothing. You know what I'm saying? So, special practice to your beginning and your ending. And lastly, don't put too many words on your note cards. Again, we don't want to rely on them. We don't want to get overwhelmed by them. So, keep it short, keep it simple. Just use your outline. Okay. So that was our delivery. What we're looking for. Remember that delivery is one of our emphasized skills. So this is very important to look at, to practice. I will say if you decide not to do the out of class challenge, if anything, at least just play the video. You don't have to answer the questions. Just watch it because he does a really good job at helping like visually see what these things look like and how you can be more effective in your delivery. Okay, so now we're doing our supporting our ideas and avoiding plagiarism. So let's get into it. So, reasons for using supporting materials. So, these are things that will, like literally the support. So, under your subpoints, that support under or subpoints, support, whatever, under your main points. That's what we're talking about. So, support materials, we need them because we want to develop and illustrate ideas. We use it to clarify ideas. We use it to make a speech more interesting. We use it to help listeners remember key ideas. And lastly, we use it to help prove a point. So different types of support materials. So the first one is definition. Obvious, define terms so they know exactly what you're talking about. So for example, if you were going to talk to us about like vegetarianism, okay, what do you mean by a vegetarian? Is this someone who just eats veggies? Do they eat fish? Can they eat dairy? Make sure we're all on the same page of what you are talking about. Again, with that, don't assume your audience knows what you're talking about. Make sure we're all on the same page so it doesn't lead to confusion the deeper you get into your speech. Next is vivid image, created by describing objects, animals, people, places, or situations. So, for example, you say, the dessert tasted good. Okay, we're not seeing anything, we're not envisioning anything. The crunchy pretzels were coated with soft white yogurt icing. I'm describing it, you can see it, you can envision it. That's creating that vivid image. It's that show, don't tell. Next is an example, which easy, an instance or a fact that illustrates a statement or backups a generalization. I'm constantly using examples all the time. When I pick on y'all and I call y'all out for what y'all said or did, I'm using an example. Narrative, and this is the most powerful of all support because we are such human, like we are storytelling beings. We just love a good story. But obviously, a story that explains or illustrates a message. And a key thing to think about is don't tell a story if it doesn't explain or illustrate or reinforce your key ideas. Don't just tell a story to tell it. Make sure it's aligned with your main points and the point you're trying to make. Next is compare and contrast. So this is how something resembles or is different from something else. So an example I found, um, I think we talked about it last week. Oh my gosh, I get all my classes mixed up. But um like an example of so a speech was on the ozone layer and smog and how it affects your lungs. And so they were trying to explain like how smog affects your lungs, but we don't know what that's like. Like that's not a normal thing we're kind of aware of. So they said inhaling a smog or ozone is like the equivalent of getting a sunburn on your lungs. Right? I'm using the, oh, well, I guess that's more analogy, but I'm comparing it to a sunburn. Okay, so that's compare and contrast. Analogy explains a concept or an object by likening it to something that is, at first glance, quite different. This would be where our sunburn is at 100%. But another example might be like cramming for a test the night before is like trying to bake a cake faster by raising the oven temperature from 350 to 550. It doesn't work, right? I'm using something that seems to be completely different to prove a point that aligns. Next is testimony. So this is someone's witness to an event, or they are experts in a field, and this creates instant credibility. And lastly is statistics. So numerical ways of expressing information. This is that percentage. This is 1 out of 10 people, blah, 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 blah. And it's nice to see numbers. Like we as humans, like we, I don't know, it feels more tangible if you give a number to it. On the other hand, there's some numbers that like our brains just can't really comprehend. Like if you say like, okay, 20% of the population does X, Y, and Z. 20% doesn't seem that much. 20% of the entire population, that's a lot of people. Tell us that number, right? If you tell me 20% of the population it won't hit as hard as you literally giving us the ginormous number, which is 20%. It's the same exact thing, but think about how those numbers can be exaggerated or used to where it kind of tricks our brain into being like, whoa, like that's a lot. You know what I'm saying? So that's a thing to think about with statistics. So next, let's talk about avoiding plagiarism. So first up, you will never have an issue with plagiarism if you give credit to your sources, you use borrowed materials in an ethical way, so just not copying word for word or paraphrasing not what the information said. If you do two of these things, give credit, are aware of how to borrow the materials, we won't have an issue. The different types of plagiarism is wholesale copying, which is literally like you copy and pasted the whole paragraph and pasted it. You went in ChatGPT, told them to write you a speech about dogs for your informative speech and copied the whole thing. That's wholesale copying. Cut and paste is literally like I'm using like two sentences here, pasting it. I'm using two sentences over here, pasting. So you're not using the whole thing they said, but you're taking here and there and copying exactly word for word those sentences and not giving them credit. And lastly is unacceptable paraphrase. This would be if you like you're not quoting it, you're paraphrasing it, and you literally just change like to like the or like you know what I mean? Like a to an. Like that's not paraphrasing. So just being aware of that. So those are the types of plagiarism you can do, which I thought was super helpful because I used to literally be an unacceptable paraphrasing girly and a cut and paste because no one taught me how to accurately cite. So I was just doing that like nobody's business. And that's not okay. Lastly is giving credit to sources. Okay, everyone, if you are not paying attention, if you are not getting your pen and pencil out, get it right now. Open those eyeballs, open those ears. Your oral citations. This is the most simple one to do, which would be according to Stephanie Voza in her article, How to Manage Your Anxiety About Public Speaking, published 2024, a way to handle the source of the anxiety is with experience. So see, this is exactly what I'm quoting right here. And I'm giving her credit. So Stephanie Voza, in her article, I put the article name published in 2024. I could make this even better if I had the month and the day. Yeah. Everything we need to know, like this. Be specific when you're citing your information. Author, source, date. If you give me author, source, and date, boom, 100% you cited your article. If you are missing these things when I'm grading, I will most likely take off however many points or give you the kind of or whatever. Make sure you have these things. When you are saying these out loud, you better be saying every single thing we talked about. The author, I don't care how you put it. I just need an author, I need a source, I need a date. Boom. So, if you're not really sure how to quote something, this is the easiest peasiest way to do it. Okay, so that is how we can avoid plagiarism and support our ideas. So now that we know all of this, we have another out of class challenge, which will give us a second because like let's get into D2L. Let's log in. Okay. Where are we at? 14, boom. Okay, we're at 6. Okay, oral citation. So what I would like you to do is you are going, see, I don't have the same view as y'all do, but when you submit, there should be an option to record audio. And what I want you to do is I want you to either use this link and find a quote and quote it, like we said, according to so and so at this article on this date, they said blah, 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 blah. What I would like y'all to do, since y'all have done the research, I want you to use one of your research sources, find a quote that you would use in your speech, and I want you to record yourself saying the citation out loud. According to whoever, on this date, from this source, they said blah, 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 blah. That's all you got to do. Record yourself, submit it, and you got your out of class challenge points. Easy peasy enough, huh? I hate when it does this. Go back, go back. This is okay. There we go. Boom. Okay, crew. Today we went over briefly some library sources. We went over out of class challenge for delivery, went over supporting your argument and avoiding plagiarism, and we had another out of class challenge, which is our oral citation. Assignments, remember your informative speech is due Wednesday. I better have an outline, a bibliography on D2L at 10 a.m. Before you speak, I better have this. Make sure you have your 3 to 5 note cards. Remember, there's no visuals, except you can make flyers or pamphlets that you turn or you pass out before or after your speech. Remember, you can schedule an out of class, schedule a coaching session with me via Zoom. You just need to email me. That info practice log, due same time, Wednesday at 10. And there's no quiz this week. Okay, y'all. This should be shorter. This should be a very short lecture, but please take this time. Get those challenges done if you need to get them done, but work on that speech. Make sure you give yourself at least, if you are not done with it by today, if your today is Monday, give yourself at least Tuesday to practice it out loud. Please, please, please give yourself one day to just not think about it and just sit on it and I don't know, just really soak in the information. So, okay, crew. I'm so excited for Wednesday. Make sure you get there on time. Again, we have to fit everyone in our hour, what is it, hour 20? So make sure we're on it. Because we don't have visuals, this will help us with time a lot, but make sure beforehand you go to the bathroom, make sure you have all your literally all you'll need is your note cards. And yeah, you're here on time. If we skip you during your speech day, like if you don't come in on time, say if you're the first person to speak, you're late, we have to skip you and you have to wait till the end. And if we don't have time at the end, you can't go, right? So make sure you're here. Super important. Email me with any questions, comments, concerns. And yeah, I'll see you on Wednesday. I'm so excited to see these. So, keep working on it, and I will see y'all on Wednesday. Bye.